It's just arrived! In my hands I hold the new limited edition 2022 Audio Technica Soundburger. Now, if some of those words mean nothing to you, let me just take a couple of minutes to bring everyone up to speed before I get this thing out of the box, take a good look at it and run it through some tests. In the early 1980s, Audio Technica were best known for their range of turntable cartridges, although they did also sell a variety of audio accessories, including microphones and headphones. They'd witnessed the massive success Sony had enjoyed with their cassette Walkman and decided to try and do something similar with record players. They followed the Sony formula of shrinking down a good quality stereo player, powering it with batteries, including 2 sets of headphone outputs, and then bundling it with lightweight headphones. They called their new portable record player the Soundburger. Well, at least they did in Japan and here in the UK amongst other places. In the US though, it was known as the Mr. Disc, and then there were other versions around the world branded up as Jewel and Nordmendy amongst others. The bulkiness of records, combined with the need to set the player down whenever you wanted to use it, meant that it wasn't quite as revolutionary a portable device as the Walkman. Its sales were no doubt also negatively affected by the fact that whilst the name and bright colours gave off the impression of this being a child's toy, it wasn't anything of the sort. It utilised a proper Audio Technica moving magnet cartridge and had a suitably delicate tracking force. The price also reflected the quality. In 1983, it cost around £90 here in the UK. So whilst it wasn't a runaway success, if you wanted to transport a decent quality record player in your bag, it was perfect, and the original Soundburger is still valued today by record collectors who often use them to assess records when they're out and about. Now, in early 2018, I made a video about the Soundburger, and so far that video has had over 1 million views. Now, in an act of pure coincidence, in no way whatsoever connected to the interest that's been shown in this 40-year-old product as a result of that video, on the 60th anniversary of Audio Technica, they decided to re-release the Soundburger as a limited edition. And these sold out really rather quickly, but thanks to a tip-off from a viewer called Z, who spotted the announcement very early on in Japan, I was able to secure one of the first of the batch that were delivered here in the UK. So let's open this up, let's have a look at it, and let's see if it's any good. The packaging resembles something more like you get a bottle of whiskey in than a record player. Little bit of a message on here about it being the 60th anniversary of Audio Technica. Since 1962 it's been their mission, etc, etc. The Soundburger came out in the UK in 1983. I don't know if it was in Japan in 82, in which case it would have been the 40th anniversary of this, but it doesn't mention Soundburger on here anywhere. The product number is up there, the ATSB 2022. And that's on the end here as well. But again, the SB stands for Soundburger 2022, the year, AT Audio Technica, but it doesn't actually say Soundburger on here. And it was made in August 22, 1st of August, or at least that's when the box was printed. Right, let's have a look. Now, back in the day, these came in a variety of colours, but I've only seen red on the picture, so I suspect this is going to be a red one. And yeah, there it is. Right, so we've got a document there. I like the way they've kept the logo and the printing exactly the same. So in the end here we've got some wires. There's the record player. Let's not mess around too long with the unboxing. Let's just get it out and have a look at it. Right, well, we've got a bit of stuff to peel off here. So here goes. Yeah, we can't do that twice, can we? Well, so far so good. It looks and feels pretty much the same as the original one. Of course, there are some differences. This has Bluetooth, and it's also a rechargeable battery on the bottom, and it's charged via USB-C. I suspect the differences are going to be on this end here. That is the transport screw. I was missing that from my original one. But down here, the original had 2 headphone outputs. This just has... well, we've got a line out here and the USB-C, but on the left here is the plaque to show the 60th anniversary, and I don't know if you can read that. It says that mine is number 196 out of 7,000. Now, is there a headphone socket on this? We've got Bluetooth there, we've got a button. I think there's no headphone socket, which of course is in keeping very much with the modern age. Bluetooth will have to do. I think we'll be fine with that. Right, so what have we got in here? So we've got a USB-C charging lead and our line out to two RCAs. Brilliant. Let's see what's in this little booklet. It's like a roughly torn business card in the front there. Let's have a look. Hand torn. Thank you. It is an honour to provide a quality audio experience to millions of people throughout the world. All right, it's the usual stuff in here. Statement of compliance, instructions, and I'll just have a quick look through this just to see if there's anything that jumps out as being worth mentioning. Yeah, so this is just the quick start guide. All you need to know to get up and running is in that little panel there. I'd like to know a little bit more about things like the battery life and the Bluetooth standard, so I'm going to have a look at the user manual, which is available online from that QR code there. Okay, so it uses Bluetooth 5.2. The codec is SBC, and some other specs. It's belt drive. Of course, it does 33 1/3 or 45. Wow and flutter, less than 0.25%. Battery life, approximately 12 hours. The original one lasted for about 2 on 3 C cells. Of course, it charges via USB-C. It weighs 900 grams. And the cartridge is an ATN 3600L, which is readily available. The original one, the cartridge used in that, Audio Technica stopped making, so you had to use a third-party one. So it's nice that you can get a proper one for this. Now, whilst it has some power in it, I'm going to plug it in to charge it up. And also, I'm going to plug it into the speakers to start with. Oh, and of course I've got to take out this transport screw here. Now, if you get one of these, look after this, because they very rarely have these if you get one of the original ones. And if you're going to be carrying this thing around, you want to screw this thing in it while you're doing that to stop the tone arm flopping about and potentially damaging your stylus. Wow, this is a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. I was going to tie my speaking to the length of the screw thread, but it didn't work out. Right, okay, so notice up here we've got a red light on to show that it's charging. Now, on the original, these were switches that held in place. These are just momentary touch switches on this one, whereas the original ones, it would be pushed down to power it on and then pop it back up again to power it off. So there are differences, of course, as you'd expect. Now, as far as opening it up, it's down to the same catch on the back. You just slide that forward, the lid springs up, and the arm moves out like this. And just like the original, there's a little switch there, micro switch, that clicks onto, which would stop the platter going if I'd got it powered on at the moment. This part here, that's used to either go on top of a 12-inch record, and as you can see there, it's quite firm on that centre spindle, so it holds it in position, because of course we're dealing with a small platter here, so you want to hold the record down. But if you're dealing with a 45 with a cutout in the middle, you put that on first, and you put the 45 on top of there, and it just rests on this bottom section here. I'll show you that in a second, but first we'll just put a 12-inch record on, and I don't have many records that I can play that won't hit content matches. I do have Attack of the Petsky Robots that falls into that category of one that I can play, so we'll just pop that on there, and then you also close the lid on it like this, and there's a little protrusion you can see in the middle there that goes into the centre, so it all clips together nicely like that. So now we've got it all set up, just take off the stylus cover. Now, the original one had a nice little hinge down thing on there. This one has one of those plastic things, which I would have preferred the hinge down option, but there you go. Okay, so we'll turn it on. You can see the red light that's pulsing shows that it's charging at the moment, but if we press that, it will turn white. That shows it's now powered up. And then below there, the speed control, if it's not lit, it's for 33 1/3. If it's lit, it's for 45 RPM. So we'll make sure it's on 33 1/3. Let's have a listen. All right, here goes. Now, just like the original model, it's completely manual in operation. It doesn't auto-stop at the end of a record, but I found that useful with the other one when I wanted to play some novelty records that only took up the size of the label. If it had auto-stopped, I wouldn't have been able to get the arm into the position to play those. But now, let's find out what the tracking force is. Okay, so I'll just carefully put the stylus down on this platform. And the results are that the weight is just under 3.5 grams. So that's a long way away from anything that could damage your records. It's a little bit more than the previous Soundburger, but it is using a different cartridge. I'll just have a look what the tolerances are for this particular cartridge though. Yeah, according to this, the 3600L should be used with a tracking force between 2.5 and 3.5 grams. So it does fall within that. Just. So on this special record, we've got a 3 kHz test tone. It's been recorded at 78, 45 and 33 1/3 RPM on the 3 separate tracks. The idea is you put the stylus down into the track for the speed that you want to test, play the audio into the wow and flutter test meter, and it will give you the results as to how far the results from this record player deviate from the perfect 3 kHz. So let's give it a go. Okay, we'll start off by looking at 33 1/3. Now these are both being set to 1% on the scale. I'll zoom you in a bit so you can see them a bit clearer. Okay, so starting with the speed, if it was all the way over on the right it'd be 1% fast and all the way over on the left it'd be 1% slow. As you can see, the needle is somewhere just under 0.5, so it's around about sort of 0.4% fast perhaps. And then if we move across to the flutter, you can see there that it's barely registering, so let's just take it down to a finer scale. So we're looking at 0.3, so the bottom row there now. So that'd be 0.3% flutter, 0.2, 0.1. So it's under 0.1. It's like 0.05 to 0.1. Not bad at all, really. Let's move it on to 45. So I've let it settle down a bit, and as you can see now, at 45 RPM, the speed is pretty much perfect. The wow and flutter is pretty much the same as it was at 33 1/3. And just something to mention in case anyone didn't fully comprehend the concept of the Soundburger, it's not a portable record player that can play records whilst you're moving it around. It's a record player that you can move around and then put down on a nice firm surface and then play a record. Just to give you an idea as to what happens if I put the meter on the flutter side up to 1% and just tap my fingers on the counter here next to it, you can see that needle's going off the scale. The vibrations from my fingers here are travelling all the way through to the stylus. So yeah, you need to put this down on a nice solid surface if you want to play any records. Not too long ago I tested a record player where they'd wired the cartridge up wrong. The left channel was coming out to the right and vice versa. So I test these things now. I'm happy to say this one is wired up correctly, and one thing that I found that was quite interesting with this, when you start it up, the audio doesn't come through straight away. It waits till the record's got up to speed before it releases the audio through the output.
My voice should now be coming only from the left-hand speaker.
Well, I am standing on the right, and you should hear me only from the right-hand speaker.
Remember, I'm on the left. And now I'm on the right, with a metronome and a very pretty girl.
Right, now if you're playing a 45 RPM record with a hole cut out in the middle, you just put the adapter on like that and it rests over the top of it, flat on the turntable at the bottom. Now, of course, if I'm using a UK style 45 with the small hole in the middle, I just need to take that off first, pop it on, and that goes on the top. Now, I think I should try and connect this up to a Bluetooth speaker. Now, I believe to get Bluetooth to work, first off you need to disconnect the audio lead and then turn it on and hold down the Bluetooth button, and then the light flashes on the top to indicate that it's trying to pair. So let me get a Bluetooth speaker, put this into pairing mode as well, and hopefully those two things are going to talk to each other. Right, so I'll just put the stylus cover back on again and pop the arm inside. We'll just have a look, see if we can get inside the bottom of this. So the arm rests in there, top closes on it, and under here it looks like it's got a removable rechargeable battery, so we'll just have a look at that. Yeah, there you go. Right, so that is branded up as an Audio Technica Li210, 2100 milliamp hour, output 4.2 volts, and as you can see, you can just unplug it from that point there when you want to replace it, so that's nice. Let's see if we can get the rest of this cover off. Now, in the original, you just had to loosen these screws in the back 2 feet. You didn't take them all the way out. And then there were just 3 more screws here that you had to remove. Now, I think in this one I might have to take those screws completely out at the back. Yeah, it looks like it. And those are quite dampened feet, those. I don't know if you can see that. They've got a bit of spongy stuff in there. Of course, that's to reduce vibrations. Same with the front ones. Okay, so you need to take these 2 wires out, which are connected up here, but then the 2 halves come apart. You can see here, there's just the 1 belt in this. The original had 2. So that's what needs to be replaced, but just look how thick that platter is. That's just going to help it maintain a decent speed. It's quite weighty, that part of it. So you can see they've made this with some quality in mind. It's not just been done on the cheap. And then in this side we've got all the circuitry, which I can't really tell you very much about at all. But we can see there are 2 pots there, which will adjust the speed. And there's holes in the bottom for those to pop through there. I'm not too sure which one's which though. Maybe it's written next to them. No, it just says VR1 and VR2. So yeah, you can adjust the speed. I can get it a little bit more accurate. I might have a go at that in a minute. But there you go, that's what's inside it. So yeah, if you did want to replace the belt, pretty easy job. But that'll be a long way down the line, hopefully. Let's put this back together again. Okay, I'm going to try to adjust the speed. Now the screw holes are just under the back here, so I need to hold this off an edge, then start it playing, put the screwdriver in, adjust them, figure out which one's which, and see if I can get the speed right. So let's have a look. Right, I think that's as close as I'm going to get it. Dead on 0 at 1%. Let's go to 0.3, see where that ends up, because it was running at about 0.4% fast before. No, look, still on 0. So yeah, got the speed perfect. Brilliant. Right, I think I've covered pretty much everything there. The only thing I didn't show was connecting it up to Bluetooth headphones, but the process is the same as connecting it to a Bluetooth speaker, and it works just as well. The price of this is £200. I believe it's $200 in the US, and that might sound like quite a bit of money for a thing like this, but you got to bear in mind the original one, when that came out in '83 in the UK, cost £90. With inflation, that's £274 nowadays. And also this one has got Bluetooth and a rechargeable battery on it that one didn't. And also the build quality on this is a bit better in places. I noticed the platter certainly seems heavier and more substantial. Now, I'd been on the lookout for a new Soundburger for a while because I find them useful things. After I got that first one, I lent it to a certain gadget show on TV here in the UK. I'm not going to say which gadget show, but anyway, when it came back, it didn't work properly anymore. I don't know what had happened, but one of the channels wouldn't work anymore. I had a good look at it, couldn't get it to play out of both channels. So I've been on the lookout for one, and I've been on various auctions bidding on them for the last couple of years and lost out every time because the prices went way up there, way beyond £200. There's no guarantee that any of those ones would have worked properly either. And this is a much better machine. So all in, I'm very happy with the price of this, considering what you get and how well it works. And the fact I was able to get the speed bob on with this one as well by adjusting it. That was something I could never do on the original one. It's got pots on it, but I could never turn them enough to get them to get the speed perfect. And the wow and flutter on this is better than it said in the specs as well. So all around, a great little portable record player, very highly recommended. The only problem is you can't get them because they've sold out of this collector's edition. I would suggest just to hold on, because if any company has put together the production line, the tooling, got the process for making one of these things and then sells out, they're not just going to say, well, that's that then. No, it'll be coming back. It just won't be a limited edition one. It won't have the little plaque on the back. I haven't got this information from anywhere, but I'm just quite sure. So what I'm saying is don't pay any scalpers ridiculous amounts of money if they manage to get one out of this first batch, just hold on and I'm quite sure it will reappear. They'd be daft not to try and sell more of these in time. All that we need now, though, is for Sony to reintroduce the PSF9. Hint, hint. I'm sure they're not watching, but if they are, yeah, get on it. Anyway, that's it for the moment. As always, thanks for watching.